What is going on, guys? I haven't done one of these in a while, but people keep asking me for build videos, so I'm going to make it. By no means is this the best build in the game. This is just off the top of my head. I'm trying to do this a little bit differently. Sorry for the advertisement over in the left side, but it's just the way I changed from LD player to BlueStacks because there was a couple other things that it allowed me to do. But I'm going to go over just a Hades build today because people keep asking for it. But the main thing that I want you guys to keep in mind is all of these are suggestions, and your own individual server is going to have its own ecosystem of players. So, like, I'm going to base it off of my own biases, and there's a lot of players on my server that use aircraft attack, or there's a lot of people in our block that use warships at the top level, and aircraft is kind of like in the middle. I know, like, the mid block servers, like the mid 300s, they're pretty much almost exclusively air attack up until you get to the tip top of players. So, like, certain things are just going to be better or worse for different servers. But I added the stuff down here for like the new features that have been coming out, and I'm just going to kind of go over each of these individually. And then I'll go into Navy Proving Grounds and show some examples, and I can swap between these the pages now, I believe. So for any Hades, the main thing that you want to think about is the cornerstone skill. It's its unique skill power of Hades. It gives you defense, last stand, and carrier resistance. So two of the biggest defense skills in the game, plus carrier resistance to eliminate a lot of the debuff issues that other carriers will have. Plus the 7-star version adds just overall damage resistance. So it's really, really tanky. A lot of people in my area use the Hades as an aircraft attack carrier, specifically because it has carrier resistance. So it's a lot harder to block the warships from getting restrained and everything, but certain things, it's good against dodge carriers because it can't get hit with like flare or anything. It can't get restrained, so your planes will always fly. There's a lot of like combo hybrid builds that people can use the Hades for, but for equipment right off the bat, like I'm not gonna do like a tiered system. This is just equipment recommendations. Right off the bat, you're probably gonna want to use the Imperial missile. As far as engine goes, there's a lot of different options. Like I'm gonna try to just use just general ones, not like Athena or anything that you have to spend a ton of money on, but just a general Ford engine is probably fine here. Yeah, most of the builds that I put together, specifically because most of the people that watch these videos don't spend a lot of money, are going to be very accessible equipment. So like there's not going to be anything fancy like avoid phalanx or anything. Torpedo, you can probably get away with Jack Torpedo, but you're probably better off with like a Helios or something. Jack Torpedo, Helios would be fine. I have seen people run Tortoiseshell Bomb, but that's only if they're running like a priest plane. Oh, I didn't even add planes to this. If they're running like priest plane or something like that, you're going to want more defense. So you're going to run like Tortoiseshell Bomb or something like that. That's for the top 3. Going on to Navarre, you can probably get away with using like the Aeolus / Anemoy, or I would recommend Undead Smart Skin on it. You could use any of those 3, but I would probably recommend the Undead one, only because the biggest weakness that Hades has up top here, it has really good defenses to most stuff, but it's really weak to skill damage. So your options to get around skill damage, like burn, biochemical missile, and all that, your option is really electronic countermeasure. There's a couple other things you can do, like you can get like Super Guardian Bot that has the burn reduction, or like skill damage reduction. You can use like an Ice Guardian chip to mitigate its weakness. And I can't spell Guardian. You could use Titan Sub for the same reason. So like if you're not going to use the Ice Guardian chip, you could use a Titan Sub for it. But if you are going to use Ice Guardian chip, you can use pretty much anything else. Crystal Rose. You can use anniversary. And the reason I'm giving you guys options is because not everyone has the same stuff. Like, this is kind of what I would go towards, but not everyone has the same stuff, and you're going to have to adjust based on where you are at to optimize for this. Like, I can't give anyone any specific build because it just won't, this game does not work like that. There is no best build for any carrier. There's going to be slight differences in everyone's builds based on the people that they're fighting at their power level. And that's why I kind of don't like making general build videos for that reason. Because I can make this exact same video for every carrier, and all of the equipment is going to be similar, all the chips are going to be similar, all the subs are going to be similar, and just like, you know, slight tweaks are made. But chips, you don't need Purify on it. Oh, I never actually finished equipment. Phalanx, you probably want something along the lines of like Imperial Phalanx is fine. But you also, if you want to go a specialty piece, you can get Crab Phalanx for a little bit more of the blockade aircraft, and it has the special ability, or special protection, so it'll block burn damage a little bit more to protect you if you don't want to go the electronic countermeasure route. Crab Phalanx will protect you a little bit more there. You can use like something like super high defense, so Super Phalanx or Enterprise. Either of those is fine. Enterprise Missile also works here too. There's a lot of different. I mean, for the most part, this is the equipment you want on pretty much everything. Each carrier you're going to tweak based on, like I said, like based on your situation. But these pieces of equipment are pretty much the meta right now. Meta meaning like what most people use and what you're going to have answers for if you're going to fight people. And then for radar, there's a couple different options. You can use the Agaris radar. I'm not the biggest fan of it anymore. It used to be really, really strong. You could use New Spring, although the New Spring takes, you're going to have to do some stuff on the back end with your bots, your stones, and your psionic zone. Oh, I didn't add that either. To make sure that you have enough dodge to get use out of it. And New Spring, just for those of you that don't know, New Spring does not use deflector armor dodge. It only takes into account raw dodge. So like dodge on Lincoln will convert, but dodge on Nyx won't. That's something to keep in mind there. But you also could use any of the free equipment here, like APG. A lot of people use APG for accuracy, for making sure that you can still hit dodge carriers, JPG, any of the free ones that you get from 5-star aircraft really work here. I have seen people use, this actually should be APG-V, and I actually have seen people, if you're using Priest, this is like a special mention, APG 2+4. It's like a really weird piece, but like if you have like the IIS or the 3, it's going to be APG gives you accuracy, but the APG 2 gives you defense. So I've seen people use the APG 2+4 just for an extra like 40%. I think it's like 37% defense, and they'll use that on a Priest setup if you're using warships on it. That's the main ones that you're going to go to. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I missed. That's pretty much it. I mean, there's always another option. Like you could use Truman, you can use a whole bunch of other stuff, but it really just depends on if you're going for aircraft attack or warship or a Priest setup. So the Hades is probably going to do the best with either an aircraft setup or a Priest setup. I wouldn't recommend using it for just overall like warship build because it just doesn't have a lot of command. So you don't have a lot of damage from the warships because you don't have a lot of command, which is like the quantity. So moving on to chips, you can use Ice Guardian, Barrier. There's a lot of options here. The only things that you don't necessarily need are Purify. Is Purify. Because it doesn't really matter. The one that you could use instead of Purify is Urgent Repair. because it restores a buff of yours instead of counteracting like Purify counteracts a debuff being applied to you. Urgent Repair will restore one buff of yours that is dispelled. So you could use Urgent Repair there. Shield, the list goes on. You could pretty much use anything on chips here, but it just depends on like who you're fighting against. If you're fighting against someone that has a lot of fire damage or like burn biochemical missile skill, you're going to want to prioritize Ice Guardian chips and stuff like that. Or if you have Titan sub, you can prioritize the other ones. But probably Ice Guardian, Urgent Repair are going to be the two go-tos, and then Shield, yeah, probably Shield. Subs, any of these three are fine. I know a lot of people use Permit class, that's fine too. Sierra is fine. Any defensive sub. If you're going for an aircraft attack build, you can get away with using the U2A, or the Crystal Rose is probably a good hybrid mix for both, because you get the Urgent Repair on your carrier, plus you also get Stimulant, and you could just throw like a Precise Strike chip in there to, if you like get Stimulant already from Crystal Rose for aircraft, you can, and you already get Urgent Repair from it, you don't have to use that, so you could use Precise Strike instead to maximize the damage on there. And everything should always have a boost morale chip as an option. It's not always needed, but you should have it as an option if you're not getting your buffs off. So that's a good one. Bots to think about. So for most people in the bots category, you're going to use what you have. You're not going to pick up specific ones unless you're building a, you're going to use the 4 free guys. Most people, I guess I should just put that in there. Most people are going to just use the 4 free guys. Oh, that's money. Money free does not work. 4 free guys. So Silverwing, Mighty Warrior, Tempo, and what's the last one? Interstellar. Man, you guys really get to see how bad I am at spelling. Those are the 4 free guys. So most people are going to use the 4 free SSRs, and then some combination of the SRs. That's the majority of the players in the game that are going to use these 4, and then 1 or 2 of the SRs. A lot of people will actually cut out, like if you're not using dodge at all, you can cut out Silverwing entirely and use another SR that's going to help you more. You're going to use the 4 free guys, and then something like Wind Warrior is really, really good. The attack speed one. Iron Wings is really, really good. Iron Wings is specifically for using like an aircraft setup. All the free guys. So you can use those too. And most people don't have more than 6 or 7 slots open, so that's pretty good. If you're gonna pick up like a specialty one, Super Guardian is good here. Golden Sentry is good here. Trying to think of other ones that'd be pretty. Armored Soldier's good here. There's a couple others that are probably pretty good too. If I didn't mention them, just put it in the comments or whatever. Stone Priority. This is going to be one of the newest topics that I will try to cover in pretty much every one of my videos from this point forward. Stone Priority is freaking huge. If you are going to spend money on this game, bar none, spend it on stones right now. More than Psionic Zone, more than getting extra bot slots are important up to like the 6th or 7th slot. The 8th slot is just so much freaking money, it's not really worth it, in my opinion. But the stones change everything about how the actual fight is played out. So this is going to be the biggest thing in my future videos. Stone Priority and then Sea Monsters probably. And I say this like most people just kind of use what they have that's like the highest +8, +7 that they have. That is a bad strategy. You want to stack multiples of whatever you have, even all the way down to like +6s and +5s over a +8 of another skill that is kind of useless. The goal is not big raw stat, or big stats across the board. The goal is big one stat that makes a big difference. So like if you're using like the Undead Smart Skin, like I was saying up here, for stones, you're going to want to prioritize ECM. So like purple stones. So any purple stone slot is going to be going for like ECM stuff. In second there, if you don't have any more ECMs, aircraft speed. And that's like what I would recommend. ECM is probably the best way to get around the burn damage stuff, because then you could use high defense items for everything else. Like if you have really high electronic countermeasure and they can't get their burn or biochemical missile off, ECM is going to be your next best thing. You can use other equipment because you don't need to get the burn resistance. You don't have to invest in the Super Guardian because you have ECM, so the burn's not going to be an issue. So purple stones are probably the most important here. Yellow stones, you're going to want to use, it depends. If you're using New Spring, you don't really need the crit mitigation, but I think crit mitigation is really big for this. Last Stand, no, probably crit mitigation and HP. No, I know I'm just typing like all of them, but like crit mitigation and HP are probably the first two, and then defense would probably be third on here. And then red, you're going to want to do, it could be a couple of things. If you're doing an aircraft build, you're going to want 2 different stones for red. Crit chance and accuracy. Those are, in my opinion, the only 2 red stones that you really need for any build. A lot of people will try to increase their amplify crit damage or stuff like that. They're really like not, it's really not that big of a deal, I don't think. The big thing right now, because so many people are using New Spring Radar, if you have a bunch of crit chance stones, New Spring is going to reduce your crit. The reason the Agaris Radar is useless now is because it's based off of crit chance. So if your crit chance is really low, your Agaris Radar isn't going to do anything, and it's just a wasted slot entirely. So you can just stack crit chance stones higher than the person's interception from their New Spring Radar, because most people, when they're building New Spring Radar, build it and don't really think about like the funnel that goes from it. So like you need to funnel dodge into the New Spring Radar so that it can convert it to interception. So with like the new Ford SP, you're reducing their dodge so they won't get as much interception, the engine. And if you have enough crit chance stones, you can get above the level that you need for the Agaris Radar to actually convert it into additional injury to kill like an Apocalypse or anything really. You'll just be able to use the Agaris Radar again. The other thing is accuracy stones, for obvious reasons. If you can blow up everyone but you can't hit them, doesn't matter. So you basically want to be able to swap between crit chance against really tanky people or accuracy for really dodgy people. And other than that, the rest doesn't really matter. Sea monsters, this is very short and sweet. Poison. Buy all the poison people. Everything else doesn't really do nearly as much. Poison with secondary being healing. That's it. Buy the poison people, and if you have an extra slot, healing. For UAV, you can use Sentry, you can use Sky Guardian. Why can't I type today? Jesus. I see people using Thunderbolt if you're using an aircraft setup. Those are pretty much the go-to 3 for most people. If you do not have the ECM build and you're not using the ECM build, and this sounds counterintuitive because the Rainbow UAV gives you ECM, It also gives you like 80% damage resistance to burn. So using like Rainbow UAV with Super Guardian bot, if you want to buy that specialty guy, you can use a bunch of other equipment and subs and not worry about the Ice Guardian chips and stuff. It opens up a lot of options for you. CIWS, the standard for this, you're going to probably die the most to like aircraft or, I don't really know. If you use warship CIWS, it doesn't block damage from when your planes attack for priest. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Basically, when your plane attacks and you attack someone that's using priest, counterattack armor will reflect. It counts as aircraft damage, so your CIWS will block some of it if it's an aircraft CIWS. So if you're fighting against a lot of priests, use aircraft-based CIWS, HP, defense, all that, all the different tactical devices do a whole bunch of stuff, but like aircrafts in general is probably better. And absorption rate. The big thing for most, I don't even have it because I upgraded the wrong one like for a while. Sunset Shield is probably the best in all cases in endgame. So the Sunset Shield with aircraft, tactical devices, HP, defense, and absorption, it's the standard free stuff. And then any specific geniuses. I do not have the new genius names memorized from the new zone, but I do know that all the ones that have the bush skills, the air-to-air advantage and air defense, those are all really good. So bush-based new geniuses are really, really solid on Hades. There is one of them that gives precision fire too. He is a must-have on any aircraft build. So precision fire genius in the new zone. All the other psionic zone stuff, most of those guys are just super basic. Like that, they're pretty much everyone should have them. Miyamoto, MacArthur, Genghis Khan. In military, in tech center, you want Myman, Wright Brothers, or Rotengen. All those guys. Like the standard ones don't change. These are just specifically what would be good on Bush. Obviously use whatever the heck you have best in slot. But this is typically what I would go. I'll try to scroll real slow if any of you guys want to see. But this is how I would build my Hades, and these are the thoughts that I would go into it should I prioritize building the Hades. Real quick, I'm going to go into